Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all of my baggage droppers around the world, welcome to another episode of the Drop Your Baggage podcast, where we talk to people that are dope, that can bring you hope, and show you a technique that can help you cope. I am your host, the self-talk engineer, Charles Woolfork. I help people heal their anxiety in 30 days, and if you are here, right now, don't hesitate. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you're on YouTube or any other platform like Facebook, so you can go ahead and activate the algorithm. And if you're on a podcast platform, give a brother 5 stars and some feedback as well. Today we have an outstanding guest, yo. Hey, she is so cool. So this is Amanda Soper. Now, Amanda is from Elizabeth, Colorado, and she went through the Equine Gestalt program, and she's been a certified coach for the last 5 years, and she works with women in trauma recovery, and she just started working with ADHD trauma recovery as well. She's been married for 7 years, and she's a pretty cool all-around woman. She's a vegan photographer. She goes through guided meditation. She reads, she writes, and she travels. She's an all-around Renaissance woman. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Amanda Soper. What's up, Amanda?
Thank you, Charles. You make me sound pretty cool.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Equine Gestalt. So all I know about equine equestrian is that you work with horses, and that's about it. So please tell us about your journey into you living in your passion right now.
Definitely. So, well, the basics, I guess. Everybody knows that physical therapy and horses is a good combination that's been around for a long time, right? People with physical disabilities, equine therapy has been just gangbusters for those folks. However, the mental wellness with horses is a little bit of a newer territory. It's been around somewhat since the 80s and has gained in popularity over the past 20 years or so. So it's a profound modality, definitely, for helping people heal. And my journey did not start there at all. I kind of fell into it and found my passion. So we can dive in there a little bit.
Please, by all means, go for it.
Well, how far back shall we go today, Charles?
Okay, so were you a girl that grew up with horses, first and foremost?
I was not. I was not. I didn't get into horses until high school, actually. I happened to have a ranch across there was a ranch across the street from my high school. Mm-hmm. And my mom made the mistake, quotes, of taking me over there and letting me kind of ride some horses and hang out. And I very shortly decided that it would be better for me to be there than at school for most of my high school career. So pros and cons of that: school sucked and I was never there. Pros being I was at the farm getting a rough and tumble horse education, which was way better than anything a classroom ever could have taught me. Mm-hmm. And she also, much to her credit, probably the best thing she ever did for me in my life was bought me a horse of my own at that ranch. Aww. Which was even more incentive for me to not be in the classroom, right, and instead be on my horse, which is great. I still have that horse today, and that's 16 years later.
Oh,
yes.
What's the horse? What's that horse's name, by the way?
Her name is Molly, and she is 34.
Holy, how long do horses live?
She's old in the horse world. They can live, some of them, into their 40s, but 20s is more common. Late 20s, mid 20s.
Shout out to Molly.
Yeah. Shout out to Molly. She's my girl. She's my girl. She's my reason for this whole path that I've ever been on. Started with that little mare. So. Mare, for the uninitiated, is a female horse.
Oh, I thought she was popular. My bad. No, I'm playing.
You were so serious for a second.
Hey, all right. So what happened after high school?
Well, after high school, I decided I never wanted to go back and be in a classroom ever again. I was lucky enough to find a, what are they called? It's not a traditional classroom, not a traditional school for my last year of high school. So I ended up graduating early, but before that, it was looking pretty bleak. I wasn't going to graduate if I stayed in the situation I was in. So I graduated early at this really cool alternative school is what they're called. And then decided I never wanted to go back. So I took about a year off, started working in park and recreation, and then decided shortly thereafter I would go back to school to become a horse trainer. Yeah. So that took me down a 6-year path of interning and classroom work and homework and hands-on of horse training industry and management. And then once I graduated from that, I had all this horse knowledge and I could train a horse and I could ride a horse and I could do all the things, but I didn't have any business sense at all. Like, okay, I've got this idea of this, what I want to do, but I don't have a clue how to get it off the ground. So I started digging into the internet and I found this program called Touched by a Horse. And Melissa Pierce, who is the founder of that program, is a renowned businesswoman. Like, she is top notch, all the things, entrepreneurial, founder of the horse healing movement since the 80s. Like, she's big deal. So I'm like, oh my gosh, perfect. She's who I need to study under. So I signed up for this program a little bit going in blind, thinking I'm going to get a background in business. And I got dumped headfirst into the healing and therapy and Gestalt pool of magical goodness that has changed my life forever. So that's the short version, the long story short version.
Hey, so for those who don't know out there, what is Gestalt? Because both of you and I do Gestalt. You're about to go through that too.
Yes, definitely. I love Gestalt. So Gestalt is a therapeutic modality that focuses very much on we are already whole people. We just have the pieces in us are already all there, like a puzzle in a box. They just have to be rearranged to see the big picture. It's very much based in somatic healing, mind, body wellness is what somatic means. And the horse's piece in that is that they are themselves natural gestaltists. So they already live in the present moment. They are somatically aware. They are somatic healers by nature. They combine really beautifully. And that's Gestalt. Don't go Google Gestalt because it'll scare the crap out of you, is my advice, because the old school days of 80s Gestalt is very frightening. Fritz Perls, being the founder of it back in the 80s, has these wild videos on YouTube that would just steer anybody the opposite direction. He's very profound in his work, but don't go do that.
How was your first encounter or interaction with Gestalt?
It was intense. It was emotional. So as I said, I didn't really understand what I'd gotten myself into. This is a 2-year intensive program for business, quote unquote, in my mind. And I'm sitting down in a chair with all of these women on my first camp. They're 4-day long intensives, 5 days now, actually. And I'm sitting around and it's a rolling floor. So there are seniors mixed in with freshmen and there's all these people and they're like, buckle up, Buttercup, your life's about to change. Like, what do you mean? So my personal first experience was over the loss of my dog, Boomer, who was my very first dog. And I had been kind of crippled is a strong word, but I felt really emotionally crippled by his loss. And as I'm watching all these other people process the trauma, and I'm a high introvert, so I was the last person to step up and go for my turn in a chair with a coach. I had watched all these things and like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is where my work is, because I can't talk about this loss of my dog without just breaking down into a sobbing pile of tears.
Right.
And I didn't understand at the time that that's okay.
Yeah.
I understand that now. So anyway, a gal coached me through this grief piece around my dog, and I was a sobbing mass of tears. And at the time, I didn't know how to cry.
What you mean you didn't know how to cry?
So for me, crying was something that had to be stopped, had to be sucked back down into my body.
Right.
And it imploded, basically. Like I would get stuck in my chest and kind of just swallow it, really. There wasn't really an outpouring of tears. There really wasn't a release. I'd just swallow all of that pain and didn't let it out.
Right.
This was my first experience with somebody encouraging me to let that pain out of my body, because somatically, as you and I know, if you keep it in, it stays in. It affects your cells. It affects your physical body. It affects your soul. So that was my first experience. And by the time it was over and I had said my piece to my dog, basically, my how my regrets, my sorrows, my thankfulness, all of these things, on the other side of it, I could talk about him with joy and with memory and with still tears, but tears of gratefulness, I guess, is a better way to say that now. And it was like, wow, they weren't kidding. Buckle up. This is life changing. And I was all in from there.
Beautiful. You saw, so was it a thing like you saw how much that it affected you that you couldn't wait to do the same for others?
I saw my own healing start that day, but as I said, it's a classroom experience. So there's other women there and men too. Fewer men, but there are men in the program.
You said that there were some men that were in it too, but so
it's, I don't know if this has been your experience as a man in Gestalt, but men in therapy is still stigmatized. Has that been something you've had to overcome in your world?
Men in therapy. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the inner city, and I never heard about therapy. You only heard about, but therapy was always kind of something that was foreign and corny, like somebody on a couch with a therapist behind them, you know what I mean, and them talking about their feelings. But like I never heard of any of the benefits of therapy. And also, guys think we were always seen as somebody to be tough. Yeah, men were always supposed to be tough. We were never I was never allowed to talk about my emotions. I was not allowed to say if I was scared of something. I was never allowed to talk about if I was sad, or I could always show anger, but I couldn't, if I was hurt on the inside or disappointed, you always had to swallow that. So yeah, the therapy, when it came to guys in my world, we didn't talk about our feelings. We weren't allowed to.
Right. For men, it seems like anger and happiness are the only two emotions that are acceptable.
If you're out of,
and that's not a lot of emotions on the spectrum.
I know, right? You got to swallow guilt. You got to swallow shame. You got to swallow disappointment. Any insecurities, you got to swallow that stuff. And if you're at a funeral, you can show you're sad. For only so long, though. For only so long.
Right. Grieve properly.
Yeah. So you didn't have many men in your class. And how about your clientele? Has with a lot of your clientele, has it been men as well?
I have worked with a very small handful of men. They're just at this time not drawn into what I do, and maybe that's not giving them enough credit. I don't really market to men either. I do know, veterans are a big market for a lot of people in the work that I do, and that's a much more male field overall. But just the average Joe guy to walk in off the street and be like, "Can your horse help me?" is rare. It's rare. I've worked with a couple EMT people, which is a big deal. There's a lot of trauma there for people. But no, not a lot of guys, which I think is a shame.
Yeah. The take me through a session with you, like one of your deeper sessions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like somebody at like a session that I've done with somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, let me think here. So they're all different. Obviously, it's different for every person. I individualize it with everybody. What's been interesting for me in my practice is that and maybe it's from my own personal experience, but almost with the exception of two gals that I can think of, I have started, because I'll come back to that later. It starts with grief. Every session I have ever had, with the exception of two, one being a much younger gal who hadn't experienced grief yet in her life, has been a grief piece. And that's not a normal trajectory for this work. It's not like everybody starts with grief. That's just where my mine personally has gone. I've dealt with a lot of people with loss.
Mm.
And I'm sure that does track in my own personal life story with a few different losses. But beyond grief work, which I do love to do with people, good example of a session for you.
What's been your most satisfying session where you felt like, man, we worked so well together? I'm so glad that I was like the universe unfolded so I could guide this person from pain to healing.
That's a great question. So one gal really stands out in my mind. She was a referral from a friend at a barn, and we had a handful of sessions together, but they all accumulated in what to me was a very obvious issue in her life, that a simple question, a really simple, really basic question, like I was hesitant to even ask her, how does your husband resemble your father? Because Gestalt and the coaching that I do is very much background combined with the foreground. What's going on in your current life tends to actually stem from your past. So she was having all this anxiety inside of her relationship. I love relationship coaching. All of this anxiety, and she couldn't pinpoint why. Her husband wasn't an explosive man. He wasn't a rager. He wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't any of these things. But the question that I asked her of how is your husband like your father was this light bulb moment for her. And she came back to see me the next week. She's like, I don't have anxiety around my husband anymore. She realized she'd been invoicing him for her father's behaviors when she was a child. And this little tiny thing to me was just this huge light bulb moment to her. And that always sticks out with me so much because it was just a small conversation that changed her life. And that's not a great example of a really deep session, but it's one that sticks out to me. Probably my favorite work that I do that's a little bit more in the vein that you're asking is anger release work.
I'm wondering what is the significance or how is the process related to the horse saving space for someone to heal?
That's a good question. That's the $1 million question everybody wants to know. And as I said, that's the part that's really different for everybody. Because depending on which horse you work with and depending on the client, everybody shows up differently. What to me is the most impactful that the horses do is when people are in deep grief. I have a client in my mind. I was holding a women's group, and she had lost her son to a car accident, this gal, and was in deep grief and just sobbing and not imploding like I did. She was letting it out, which is great for her. And occasionally in an arena, I have the horses loose with us. So we'll be in a circle with safe space in between, but the horses can just kind of come up and leave, go and come as they please. Well, as she's processing this grief and in her deep pain, this horse named Snickers came up behind her, and she's sitting in a chair, and horses are big, right? He backs his chest up to the back of her neck and head, and he drapes his head over her body and hugs her, basically. I mean, it really is like a very divine equine hug. And she was in such a dissociated state that she didn't realize that he was there until after, when we were processing. But he just came up and very much was holding space for her. I mean, it's very divine. They're powerful beings. It's one thing to have people come up and hug you, when you're in your grief. It's a very powerful thing to have a 1,000-pound animal come wrap you up and love on you and hold space for you. And that's one of my favorite things to see. I've seen horses literally pick up blankets and wrap them around people, like drape them over people. Wow. They're real clever about things. With something like an anger release. Are you familiar with anger release work?
Quite familiar with anger release.
Yeah. Awesome. So you know what that can look like, like primal scream, beating on something. Rage rooms are popular right now, which I think is amazing. We have a experience where you get to beat on something to get your anger out. And you would think, as prey animals, that horses would be like, hell no, I am out of here. I'm not here for that. Peace out. Hope you feel better later. In fact, when people are doing anger release, primal scream, or body release, or whatever it is that they're doing, the energy field changes, and the horses are like, wow, that whatever they're doing is making them feel better. And they're like tuned in, their ears are up, and we don't let them be loose when people are doing that because that's dangerous. They're in a round pen typically, but they're like, I am here for this. Actually, this person feels better. They're clearing out all of this yucky ick. And by the time they're done, I'm going to go up to them and we're going to be best friends. And I'll do my horsey magic, whatever that looks like. It's hard to explain if you can't see it. And they're all about it. They stay very, very, very present while people are doing those things, because as the energy field clears, the horse is like, well, before you were really confluent or incongruent and I didn't like your energy, and now you're clear and I really want to be in your presence.
Therefore the horse stays grounded and like holds that space with a more centered energy.
Yes.
And while that person is going through whatever they're going through, the horse is, like you said, present within that moment and giving them that space so they can clear out their energy. And once they're clear, the horse is there with that grounded energy.
Yes.
So they can like have a positive reinforcement, if you will, for that person to let them know like, hey, it's okay, whatever you went through. And then also at the same time, I support you and you're just fine the way that you are. All the pieces of you are fine just the way that they are.
That's a really beautiful way of putting that. It's very, very on point.
That's what's up.
Absolutely.
Dang. It's cool to have a grounded energy. Like I feel as though with the relationship between my girlfriend and I'm that grounded energy. You know, she can be going through her storm and her chaos. And I'm like, and I'm just solutions, right? Solutions. All right. So what do we got to do for this? Or what do we got to do for that? Like, yo, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be like this too shall pass. Everything's going to be good. We just have to like think about solutions instead of the problem. However, I'm not the one to have someone stay in the, especially someone that I care about. I'm with somebody, especially that I care about. You can't. I won't allow that person to just be in their emotions, because I want to always be in a space to where I am attracting the positivity, you know what I mean, out of the universe. I'm attracting what I want out of the universe, and I don't want to feel sad. I don't want more things to attract me to make me feel sad or bad. However, that's the respect of the Gestalt. Like my girlfriend is just as beautiful. Everybody, for that matter, is just as beautiful with the energy that they withhold that is in that negative emotion, and with the positive emotion as well. So therefore, the horses, which what you do, the equine Gestalt has just taught me is that I have to be more stable. You know what I mean? I don't have to be in a staple to be stable. I have to be more I have to be more stable within myself and be centered and balanced, so I can allow that other person's energy to just flow. Because it's not bad energy, it's just energy, right? Oh. It's not bad energy,
right?
I just have to let it flow, and then once it's gone, it can then make room and make space for that energy that we want, that we desire, to then flow back into our lives as well.
Yep.
That's powerful, yo.
It is powerful. It's really powerful to be as a coach and with an equine partner. It's really powerful for people to have somebody listen to their not positive emotions, sometimes for the first time in their lives. You know, women, I can only speak from the female experience, but women are often doing all the things and are the listening ear for everybody else. Meanwhile, they don't have an outlet. So, you know, having a boyfriend such as yourself or a husband such as myself who are good listeners and can be a grounding, stable force is super wonderful. And I do not take that for granted at all, because my guy is amazing and is also learning to become a coach himself in this work, which is great because he's one of a very few men in the program. But a lot of women, I won't say most, don't have anybody to process anything but, ma'am, you better be happy or you can be sad. You can't be angry. That's it. You got two emotions and don't do them too long. Be happy.
I love the movement that is going on that is allowing us to talk about mental health. Mental health is very important nowadays, and that's healthy emotions and how to express our emotions in a healthy way. So like being able to express our anger or being able to express our sadness, being able to say, yo, I have anxiety. So being able to express our fear, it's becoming more and more common, and it's such a beautiful thing because now a lot of generational trauma won't be passed down to the next generation, and hopefully we'll be able to communicate in a better way with ourselves and with others.
I very much look forward to seeing the future generations and what this mental health movement does for the coming generations and the generations that are already here, Gen Y, Z, and all of it, continuum. They're already benefiting from the millennial generation really getting into their own dirt, digging it up and planting flowers where the crap used to be. And I very much look forward to seeing where that will take us as a society, a culture, a world. It's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, and you and I are a big part of that from the work that we're doing. And
light workers.
Like no other. So on this, so now it is time for the second half of the show, and on the second half of the show I go ahead and I will be taking you through a process to release an emotion. Now I want to remind you that I am not a therapist, I am not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I am a self-talk engineer that helps out as many people as possible with the Neuro Linguistic Programming modality. And today we're going to be going through mental and emotional release process. Now, I'm going to talk to the audience real quick. If you have anxiety and you are ready to heal your anxiety in 30 days, please go to anxietygoneforgood.com. I am having a masterclass later on in July. Please come through, sign up over at anxietygoneforgood.com. Yeah, little plug. So today we're going to be releasing the fear of judgments. Yes?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Tell me about that real quick.
Fear of judgment. I feel like it's pretty universal, you know, even as a coach with a lot of coaching years under my belt, I still struggle with it. I talk to you about where it gets in the way in my business of video content. Basically, it's such a roadblock for me, and I think it's unfortunate because video is the way of the future right now, right? So yes, I would like to, you know, on the surface, it's like, well, who cares what people think of you? But it's such a deep-rooted thing, judgment and fear of judgment. It's like, I don't care on one level, but on another level, I very much do, especially as a professional, you know, as a voice in an industry, as a leader in a mental health capacity, like I have to be authentic in that. Judgment still scares the crap out of me too, and I would like to be done with it. So let's get the healing underway, sir.
I got your back. Hey, so let's go ahead and do a mind-body connection. So with the mind-body connection, with that fear of judgment, I want you to get in tune with it, get in touch with it right now. And where do you feel it currently?
It's in my throat and my chest.
Throat chakra.
Chakras, yes. That's a part of my work too. I knew you were a little woo-woo.
A little. I will talk more about that after the cameras are off. All right, so in the mind-body connection, it's in your throat and chest, and so it's your heart chakra. So you're not expressing yourself, and it's also affecting the way that you're feeling towards like the light that you have within you. Gotcha. Gotcha. That's exciting. Well, it's not exciting that you have that that you have that feeling, by the way. It's
I know what you
exciting
mean.
that we're about to free that up real quick. All right. So with this modality, all you have to do are three things. All right. Number one, you got to use your imagination.
Got it.
Number two, you have to follow directions just like you follow Google Maps or a good recipe.
Okay.
And number three, you have to trust the process. Know that I'm your guide and I'll be leading you through this easily and effortlessly. And I come from a place of good vibrations and love.
Trust the process.
Hey, I love it. Also, we're going to be creating for the Gestalt, we're going to be also doing timeline therapy. So with your timeline, your past can be to your left, to your right, or behind you. Where's your past?
Whew. Can I say back left?
Back left is fine. Where's your future?
Okay. Right front.
Front. All right. Goes that way. Got it. So I got to just ask the question, is it all right with your unconscious mind for you to release this fear of judgment today and for you to be aware of it consciously?
Yes.
Awesome. What is the root cause of this problem? The first event, which when disconnected, that will cause this problem to disappear. If you were to know, when was the first time that you felt the fear of judgment? You said earlier that it was when you were 5 years old and you were in front of the classroom doing math.
That was one we had talked about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was 5 years old. And what are you shaking your head?
Nope. We had talked about that one first, but we narrowed it farther down to when I was 4 and sleeping on the couch and got a washcloth slapped in my face.
Right.
Yep. So that would be what I would say was the first event. Do you need more detail than that?
That's up to you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was 5. I was a little kid watching TV and I'm falling asleep on the couch. And my mom's boyfriend at the time decided I shouldn't be sleeping on the couch for I don't know what reason, and took a cold washcloth and slapped it in my face to wake me up. And up until that point in my childhood, I had not experienced somebody telling me to be or do something different than who I was. And I was a sleepy little kid. So napping on the couch was a favorite pastime of mine. So for me, it was I've done something wrong and I don't know why. Why? Yeah. So that's my first real visceral memory of awareness of a judgment.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how deeply do you feel that? 10 being the highest, of course.
I would put it at a 6.
6. Got it. And still in your throat and chest?
A little bit lower in my chest. That's not in my throat necessarily.
Gotcha. All right. Let's go ahead and clear that up.
Let's do.
With that, you can go ahead and close your eyes and relax and let me know when you're for the process.
Okay, go.
All right. Now, just imagine floating up above, outside of your body, as if though you were a spirit or energy. And just imagine seeing yourself right here, right now, from a third person point of view, like a fly on the wall. Let me know when you can see. Take your time. See the couch, windows, the chair behind you.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, just imagine floating up above your timeline and then float behind you into the past and float deeper and deeper and deeper into the past. Above that first event, felt the fear of judgment. Just a little girl sleeping on the couch. And just see that event. Hover over that event. Observe that event like a fly on the wall. Let me know when you can see that event.
Can see it.
Okay. Now, stay high above the event. Stay very high above the. And as you do so, ask your unconscious mind what it needs to learn from the event. The learning of which that will allow you to let go of the emotions easily and effortlessly. Your unconscious mind can preserve the learnings so that if you need them in the future, they'll be there. Just tell your unconscious mind to preserve the learnings. This is an exercise of forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiveness for yourself and others, and acceptance of yourself and others. Who do you have to forgive? What do you have to accept? Who do you have to accept? Make sure that you empower that little girl. Empower that 4-year-old. Let her know how awesome she is. That what she did is okay, and that she is okay. And as you observe this event, focus your attention upon how hurt people hurt people. Once again, hurt people hurt people. We're all doing the best that we can with the resources and consciousness that we have. We can't control anyone else's actions, but we can control our response. Grow stronger and wiser. Learn from other people's actions and mistakes. Learn what to do and learn what not to do. Other people's actions have nothing to do with you. It's only a reflection of their baggage and their consciousness, whatever that's going on at the time. And we're better people than we were when those events occurred. You're a better person than you were when those events occurred. You're stronger. You're wiser. What is something positive and empowering you can tell that little girl and your father and everyone else involved in the event, with the consciousness that you have today that will allow the emotions to evaporate like water on the concrete on a hot summer day. And as you preserve these learnings, the emotions are starting to dissipate more and more until they're all gone. Let me know when they're all gone. Take your time.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, just make sure that you observe, as you observe the event, tell me, what is something that you learned from the event?
That was something that was done to my dad as a little kid as well, and was what he knew, the information that he had at the time to deal with a little kid was to repeat what he had been taught.
That's right. What else?
And I was a little sprout. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't doing anything wrong.
That's right. What else?
I would not do that myself at any time, ever. That's not something I'd carry forward.
What else?
That's all I got.
Awesome. Now, just imagine floating up above your timeline and float into the past and float deeper and deeper and deeper into the past, above the dinosaurs during the prehistoric age. Let me know when you're above the dinosaurs.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, as you're above the dinosaurs, just imagine float to space and float deeper and deeper and deeper into space. And imagine your timeline is the size of a finger. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, just imagine floating there, weightless in space, and ask yourself, now, where are the emotions? Tell me, are they there or have they disappeared now?
I'm not tight in my throat or my chest now.
Awesome. Now, just imagine floating down inside the event, seeing through your own eyes as a little girl and check on the emotions. Tell me, are they there or have they disappeared now?
Disappearing.
Awesome. Float back above the dinosaurs, float into space to where space and the atmosphere connects. Let me know when you're
there.
Awesome. Listen closely. Float very, very high above your timeline, above each and every event in which you felt that fear of judgment, from birth until now, in chronological order. Don't skip one event that has a charge on it. Preserve the learnings and let go of that fear of judgment all the way back to now. Go. Float very, very high above your timeline, above each and every event, and we felt that fear of judgment, from birth until now, in chronological order. Don't skip one event that has a charge on it. Preserve the learnings and don't come back to now till that fear of judgment is all gone. And it's all gone. Let me know.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, just imagine floating down into your body and open your eyes when you're ready. Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, I have a question for you. You ready?
Ready.
Do you smell biscuits?
I smell coffee.
I asked that question to get your mind off the meditation. So, can you remember a time in the past in which you used to feel that old emotion? And go back and notice if you could feel it, or you may find that you cannot.
I can put myself there and be aware of what the emotion was, but I don't feel charged.
Yeah, but you feel charged before.
Yes.
And now it's gone.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm going to puke, which is great.
Thank God. That would be a first on the show, quite honestly. All right. Now I want you to imagine going out into the future to an unspecified time in the future in which if the same thing would have happened in the past, you would have felt a fear of judgment. But it's the future now. So see if you can find that old emotion, or you may find that you cannot.
No, I feel equipped. If that were to happen in the future, getting up in front of a classroom of students, which, as I said, was definitely where that would come up a lot for me also. I feel equipped. Public speaking is not the terrifying, scary monster that it once was.
Congratulations. You just released a bunch of that fear of judgment.
Bring on the healing. Yes, thank you.
A lot of the audience hasn't gone through this modality as of yet. Is it possible for you to put into words like how the process was for you?
Yes. Let me form my thoughts. For me, that was a release of emotion, a release of charge is what I want to say. It was a release of the charge around those feelings. It was a somatic, physical release of tension in my chest and my throat. I don't feel that at all. And also an awareness of, as an adult person, I have the resources to navigate away from those emotions going forward. Like, I have an awareness of that I didn't have prior to this experience. Does that make sense?
100%. So when did you feel a release of the tension? Do you have remember specifically when you felt like that energy was flowing through you?
Yes, definitely after, let's see, where was I floating at that time? So, oh gosh. Okay. Yes, I do. And I can feel it in my physical body, but the words escape me a little bit. So
Yeah,
it was
take your time.
between releasing from that experience as a little girl and finding the acceptance for that situation and documenting in my mind, my subconscious, the lessons. I guess that was the point. That was the point of finding the lesson in it for my little self, awareness of who my dad is and why he did that as a wounded human himself.
Yeah.
And the acceptance of all of that is when that charge released for me.
When you were going through the events, and I'm sure, like, I'm not sure, but usually we go through some pretty painful events in our past. How was that? How was that for you on a scale of 1 to 10? How was that for you when you were going through those events?
Well, like I said, I felt like I wanted to puke for a few of them.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'd put it at like an 8.
So it was hard, and yet
it was hard.
You flowed through it though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And I feel release around those events as well.
When you flow through it, like we're doing, and as you're going through it, and we're going through our timeline, we can go through things at a rapid pace. Was there a common thread that held all these together with that Gestalt? Or was it that you would have to singularly have an epiphany on each event?
Definitely a common thread. Definitely a common thread.
What was the thread?
Classrooms and schools and kids are mean.
Yeah. Constantly going back to those events where you felt judged. And would you go back to that, like, with that 4-year-old girl come into those places in the classroom?
Would I bring her with me? Is that your question?
No, it's like, would you react the same way as that 4-year-old girl did on that couch?
Prior to this, yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I've never really thought about that. I've never talked about that event before. It's never been something that's like been a lightning bolt moment in my life, but I can see the connectedness as we went through that of very much that little girl feeling all the way through having those experiences of judgment in a classroom when I was a teenager, very much back to her.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's that Gestalt of that 4-year-old girl. A piece of her was coming into this and then this one and then this one and then this one, and it was all coming together. So once you made peace with that 4-year-old girl on the couch, then you could help make peace with every part of you throughout your life. And then bring it to a place of wholeness.
Yeah, it's very much like the kids in the classroom and my dad being, kind of related in that way. They're hurt kids being mean to me because they're hurt kids whose families have done crappy things to them, and it's just a cycle. And I can definitely see that really clearly from this vantage point.
That's beautiful. That is very beautiful.
Thank you for that experience.
Of course. That's what I do.
That's what you do.
Now, when you think of that 4-year-old girl, so you said on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 6 at that time. How is it now?
10 being high, 1 being low.
Yeah.
Like a 1. I don't feel any charge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Mind-body connection. You said it was in your throat and in your chest. Now, when you think of those events, how is it now?
I feel very aligned. Like I don't have tension anywhere. It's cleared. It's very aligned.
Beautiful.
Crown chakra to root chakra is all cleared.
Hey, just got it flowing now. Got it flowing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's beautiful, yo. That's very beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are official.
I wouldn't have done it without you.
You wouldn't have done it.
I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it without you. That is so very true. I didn't know I needed to.
Well, first of all, I gotta say this. Congratulations, you are officially a baggage dropper.
Awesome.
And yeah, maybe like, so It's always back to the root cause. Our emotions, our negative emotions, is what I learned from my Kumu, my teacher, Dr. Matt James, whose father created this modality we just went through. The root cause of a negative emotion, it starts at that age between a birth and 7, and you got to pull things out by the root. You know what I mean? And if you don't, then it's just gonna, just like a weed. If you don't pull a weed out by the root, it's just gonna keep growing back and maybe grow back even more. So you got to make sure you pull it out, and you're already doing that with your clients. You're asking them what part of you back then is related to that part now.
Yeah, it's very much in alignment. This experience is very much in alignment with what I do. Everything has its roots in the past.
We could definitely wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to give you some homework when it relates to your fear of judgment. We got to do baby steps, since it's you have to give yourself a room to try things. So it's about baby steps, trying this, trying that, and just making sure that you get your feet wet enough to get comfortable in front of a camera. I'm an area director for Toastmasters. So I want to also invite you to a Toastmasters meeting as well that I'll be facilitating, or I'll be a part of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you got people to bless.
What if I have a fear of homework? We didn't touch on that.
Hey, yo, you don't have to. Hey, you don't have. I know. I'm just like diving in with you. You know what I mean? But like,
that's just a joke. I'm on board with homework.
It's a little bit. Don't worry about it. It's out there. What are some other wise words that you would like to tell the crowd out there?
Don't be afraid to dig into your deep, painful work, because you got to dig into the dirt to uproot the weeds and plant the flowers, as you said. Don't be afraid of that. Healing, while it can be painful and it can be scary, there's joy and light on the other side of it. And if you only scratch the surface for your life, you really miss out on reaping the rewards of clearing your past, clearing your healing your relationships with your friends or your coworkers or your spouse or sometimes even your parents. Or don't heal your relationship with your parents. I'm not 100% a forgiveness person in my work, though there's benefit for it sometimes. Just find a person that you're comfortable with, find a modality that you're comfortable with, and dive in without looking, just dive in, and there's reward on the other side.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Thank you.
Charles, it was a pleasure, truly. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah. And thank you all for listening or watching. I really appreciate y'all. Go ahead. Don't hesitate. Hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're on a podcast platform, give a brother 5 stars and some feedback as well. Until the next episode, when we will be checking up on Amanda, and so she can give us an update to see if all of this wore off. Until the next time. Hey, you guys, please take care of yourself. Take care of one another. Peace.